Hello, my name is Ryan. I was partly responsible for putting the lights together. It was an awesome project, putting all of the different locations we needed to have. And so I wanted to show you, as if you were helping me at the story that day, what I'd be teaching you and how to put it together and how to run the show. So that's what we're going to be looking at right now. The first thing that we're going to look at is how we built it. Now, we had two separate types of lighting rigs. We had the movable heads, then we had the fixed heads. So there was 8 lights on 2 different bars that stayed in the same location. So these are our 2 lights here that stayed in the same location. There are 4 bars, so there's a total of 8 lights like that. And each light has an individual color. As you'll see here, we have all the blues turned up on each light, and then you can color mix each one. And then here we have the actual fader and how bright we want it to be. So those are pretty easy, and we would have different steps. So if we wanted a second step like this one, then it goes to green. So this was during the time Joanna was singing. So it would go blue to like a light blue, back and forth. And then we have our spots, and how we would do our spots. It took us a while to get this figured out, but you have the pan tilt element to it to figure out, okay, where is Joanna going to be standing on the stage? So we would use this little control here to be able to control, and that would actually move the lights around the stage. And then we would go to our color and set our color, and right now it's set to like a light blue light, and then we'd save it, as you can see, to a blue green fade, or for Born in Me. So that was the general idea of how to build it. So that's the big part of what it took. Now, we didn't mess with that any time during the show. Instead, we had a live show, and it looked something a little bit like what we see here. And so the next part that we're going to be showing you is what we would do to be able to run live. So this is how to run the live show with the lights. So the first thing, or the song that we're going to be looking at, is Good. And so on Good, we had different sections to a song. Now, in the song, there was this slower part of the song where you didn't have much going on in the song, and then you had the verse that came in when Megan started singing, and then the lights would change, and then you had the chorus where actually it would drop out, and that's where they would be singing Can You Hear Us Cry? And so those are the 3 main elements, and then at the very end of the song you had the breakdown that it would break down into the lights. So for the Good slow, when the song would start, we would click here, and then the lights would splash between 2 colors, between a blue and a green. And depending on how fast they were playing, we would adjust the speed with our speed slider here between, you know, a 90 and 125 there, and speed it up. Then once Megan started singing, we'd hit this one, and that would switch it, and then it would go from the outside into the middle with different green lights going, splashing back and forth. Then, before we got to that, over here we have what is a manual BPM, or beats per minute. And so you would go here and you would tap to the song how fast they were doing the song. And what that was to do is to set, when we went to this next one, because this one would go to the music, and you'd hit Good chorus, it would splash now on beat to that beat. 130 beats per minute was what I just set it to, but it would do it at whatever beat they were doing it to. Then at the end of the song, when it would go to the sweet electric guitar part, we would click here, and that's where we would have the flashing lights. That's why I have lightning behind it to remind me. That's the breakdown. So that's where it would be flashing back and forth between different colors. And then right at the end of the song, we would wait about a couple seconds before, and you'd hear the very end. We'd click here, and it would bring it all bright green. It would flash, and then it would turn itself off. So that's how we would do the lights. And then as we went from each scene, we just go to our drop down, and we go to Abraham, to Mary, and then we go back and forth between the lights. So that's how the lights were done. Then we had special situations where, say we had spots that we wanted to bring. I had this whole section for our separate spots. So that was just for the lights. So right here we had our Good spots that I would turn on right when the singers started to sing. So you would see those spin around, and you would find the singers and then turn them off at the right times. Same thing with our narrator. He would have a special spot that would turn on a certain spot. And so we have our strobe for different parts. So all the lights were right there available, really easy to access. And then what was really neat about this program is we were able to actually run our videos, so we didn't have to have a second person for our video. And so we had them ordered here, 1 through however 16 I believe it was. And when we had the video backgrounds, all we would do is click here, and then when we click there, it would bring up the creation intro video, or it would bring up the narration creation video. And so all it would do is just pop it right up there, and then we'd turn them off, and then we're good to go. So that's the general idea of what it was to run the lights. As you can see, after you get it all built, it's pretty easy.
You know, I've danced, I've done stage management and helped with costuming and choreography and all these things over the years with different productions. And so, you know, a couple of years ago, learning sound here at the church. And then this time, now Ryan has done all the hard work with the lighting, but being able to step in and even learn a little bit about this new, it's a different kind of lighting than what's typically gone on in stages over the years, because it's all digital. But learning that facet of showbiz that I've never learned is really kind of fun for me to jump into.
All right, so this is where I did a good portion of the audio mix down. I've got this stereo system that I robbed from classroom number 1 for a couple of weeks and hooked it into our Tascam US 1608 here that we picked up, which enables us to record 16 channels at one time, and we actually used 15 of those 16 channels for the story. And that brought them right into here to our digital audio workstation, Cubase Elements, that we're using, which I'd like to go ahead and show you now. As you can see, we have our tracks on the left, and we're able to break all the vocalists down. Just wanted to give you a quick example of what we would do initially with it. As an example, with Mike's voice, we did this with every singer, is we would open up our equalizer and we would EQ the voice for what would sound best on the recording, because you don't always capture the greatest EQ directly off the microphone. So as I played a little bit here, you can hear what we could do with the vocal. So finding the treble spot, find what sounded good, and then just maybe bump it up a little bit. Same would be with the mid-range. I found something that didn't necessarily sound good in the mid-range, and then I would pull that down to get the best sounding equalization of the voice possible. And then after that, I'd go over and usually apply some sort of compression to it, which brings up the lows of the voice and squashes down the highs so that it brings it right to the forefront of the recording. So that's what I do for each vocal. And then when it comes to the mix down, we'd have our own mix console here that we would go ahead and adjust the volumes for it. Okay, so as an example, we have all of the tracks that are here on the bottom. We can also pull up our meter bridge so that we can watch in real time what the audio levels look like. So as you can see, we've got Mike here, Megan next, and then electric guitar and so forth. Over here I've got the reverb that I would add to it to give it that spacious feel. We would just get just enough reverb to get the vocals sounding good, and also we would add some delay into it too. So you'd add just enough delay to not be real noticeable, but to give it that full sound as it would come through. And then with the volume levels, we would just adjust the volume to sound as good as possible. And the nice thing about it is all of the mixing is automated. So as I make volume adjustments, it actually writes it to the computer so that when it plays back, they move automatically by themselves. As an example, we can zoom in on the reverb at the end of the song and see how it got maxed out and then panned left to right for a cool ending of the song. After we get everything mixed the way we like it, we export it to a stereo file, and then that file, which ended up being a little over an hour long, goes to Ryan to drop into his video software so that we have a nicely mixed down audio recording that goes behind the video.
So we had a total of 6 cameras that were being run, 3 of them being operated and the other 3 being sitting in one static position. So what we have is we have our multiple angles here. So here's our, here we are during the song Good, and so you can see we have here, we have the GoPro that's in the back, we have the camera that's would be stage right, we have the camera in the back, and then the camera that is stage left is turned off right now. So what we do is we push play on the video, see if it, and then what I do is you can see this is the camera angle that's activated. All I have to do is click there or click here, and that would change the angles, and then so we got a live editing process to be able to switch from camera to camera, just like if we were doing it live in a booth. So once we get that, then what we needed to do is we needed to drop in all of our footage for our video. So what we did is, as you can see here, we have an overlay that sits over the singers, and so we drop that in, and then what we do is we drop it in and we sync it up to where we want it to be, and then we go to our inspector here, and then what we did is we set the opaqueness down to like 5%, so then that way it's not overtaking it, and then we make sure our blend mode is set to either normal or exclusion, and that creates a different type of look so that it only lets the brighter part of the actors and the lights on them to show through, and so then we get the result here. So that's how we do our video, and then we click share and render it, and it takes a long time for it to render because these files are really big, so anywhere between 10 to 18 hours before the file is ready after you've done all the editing, and then it creates a file that's like 4 gigabytes big, and then we have to put it on DVD or upload it after that. So that's the basic idea of what we did. There's a lot more parts to it, but that's the general idea for that.
I have learned that it's okay to come out of your box, that it's okay to learn something different that you don't know, to trust that you can do it, and that God is just going to empower us to do whatever we need to do. You know, this is His word, this is His story.